Today on Week in Review, a disturbing-looking Halloween police incident was caught on video. The Terrace Rotary Club auction was held last weekend, and we'll look back at the retiring PRPA's CEO career. Hello, I'm Cael Maslin, and thanks for joining us here on Week in Review, where we cover all of the news here in the Northwest from this past week. CFTK-TV was informed earlier this week of an incident involving the Terrace RCMP that took place on Halloween night at the Best Western Gators Lounge. The lounge was hosting a Halloween fundraiser for youth basketball teams when Terrace RCMP officers appeared and were captured on camera restraining an elderly Indigenous woman using what witnesses described on social media as shocking levels of force without apparent reason. In their own statement on what happened, the Terrace RCMP said that patrolling officers were flagged down by a hotel and pub employee asking for help with a woman that was said to be intoxicated and was refusing to leave the hotel. Officers entered the Best Western to arrest that woman without an issue, but when she was being escorted up a set of stairs near the exit, another woman ran up the stairs and was said to be yelling at the police. That woman allegedly then grabbed at an item on an officer's belt and was arrested after not stepping back from the police when told to do so. She also allegedly resisted arrest and assaulted the officers, and more officers had to be called in when other patrons allegedly became confrontational with the police. 6 people in total were arrested, one of whom complained of pain in their shoulder and was released into BC Emergency Health Services care, and the rest were set free after sobering up. The City of Prince Rupert announced that a boil water notice has been put back into effect. This means that everyone who uses the water system in Prince Rupert needs to rapidly boil their water for at least a minute before cooling it off and then placing it in a food storage container. This is only needed before anyone consumes water or uses it in a manner to brush their teeth or wash their food like vegetables. The notice is set to be in effect for the foreseeable future and was reestablished because of the ongoing construction within the city. It's a long-standing Terrace tradition. The Rotary Club's 65th annual auction returned last weekend. It ran on November 1st and 2nd at the Terrace Sportsplex Banquet Room. CFTK-TV's Helen Asante shared more on what was set to happen.
Organizers say after 6 decades, the excitement hasn't faded.
It's special just because, as always, the Rotary Club of Terrace provides money for a lot of local initiatives and charities and things like that, such as the Terrace Church's Food Bank and the Salvation Army as Christmas rolls in. And the auction is one of our 2 main fundraisers. So we hope to raise, as usual, in the neighborhood of $60,000 to $65,000. We've got a lot of donations from area businesses, and as always, they're very generous, and so are the people who watch, and they bid online.
John reflects on how the auction has evolved over the years.
In the old days, people would be phoning us up a lot of times. Now they bid online. They can still phone, and they can still come up to the Sportsplex and bid in person. But the technology really has sped things up for us. And it's a quieter auction now because you don't hear phones ringing the way you used to.
He speaks on unique items this year generously donated by the local businesses and supporters.
We have several hundred items, but we have a hot tub that was donated by Canadian Tire, and we have a few other big ticket items, various furniture, a lot of gift certificates this year because people are finding that it's easier to donate a gift certificate. So we're hoping that that does generate a lot of interest. We'll be on the air both Saturday and Sunday, so there's a lot of chances for people to get something for maybe a pre-Christmas present.
John is urging the community to come out this weekend, Saturday and Sunday at Terrace Sportsplex Banquet Room, with pre-bidding open now.
Get on the phone and bid, or get on your computer this weekend. We'll be Zooming to everybody, and hopefully we're going to get some good bids. We're going to get a lot of items sold, and we're going to have a lot of fun this auction weekend.
CFTK-TV News, Helen Asante.
Up next is some of the concerns that a senior living in Terrace is having. Welcome back. And on the actual night of the 65th annual Rotary Club auction, the event managed to draw strong support despite the Toronto Blue Jays playing in Game 7 of the World Series. CFTK-TV's Helen Asante shares more yet again.
Despite the tough competition for attention, the Rotary auction still drew strong community support.
For a Rotarian, this event is really an opportunity to become really involved, to have some fun, to work with other people, other Rotarians and spouses and friends that come and help put the auction on.
This year's auction brought in $42,749 in bids, along with $3,500 in cash donations, slightly down from last year, but still a strong show of community spirit.
Bids were probably down a bit on the Saturday night, but it's still very successful, and as we showed you last year and this year, the results of the auction were quite similar, and so that money that we raise goes back into the community for the most part.
Brian Downey with the Rotary Club says it's remarkable to see how far the event has come since its early days.
The auction was started a long time ago when the owner of the radio and TV station here was a Rotarian, and so we were on the radio and we were on TV at the same time, and that was a start. And we had white blackboards and writing on chalk, and having a good time, lots of people involved, and over time it's transitioned into technology and live streaming and quite sophisticated.
CFTK-TV News, Helen Asante.
The chief counselor of the Cael says the nation's land base will increase substantially after members overwhelmingly voted in favor of both a treaty and constitution. 89% of voters approved of the constitution, while about 90% supported the treaty. Troy Sam of the Cael First Nation says that the treaty will open a new path to self-government and assert full ownership of about 460 square kilometers of land. Sam says he feels proud of the community and all the other treaty nations for helping them achieve the milestone along the journey. The treaty still needs to be ratified by the provincial and federal government, and Sam says the timeline hasn't been set yet, but he's hoping it will happen within the next 3 years. The province says that if it's ratified by all the parties, the Cael Treaty is expected to have an effective date around 2028. Now we have a look into some of the contribution from the Prince Rupert Port Authority's soon-to-be-retired CEO over the course of his lengthy career. At the end of this year, the Prince Rupert Port Authority will require a new president and CEO, as their current one, Sean Stevenson, will be retiring on New Year's Eve. The city of Prince Rupert extended a congratulatory statement to Mr. Stevenson, since he had been making contributions to both the city and the port for a very long time now.
Mr. Stevenson and I have had a relationship, professional, that goes back to tourism days. So I've watched his career develop, all the way through to taking on the role of CEO. He's been somebody I've worked with on all kinds of projects in terms of supporting development at the Port of Prince Rupert, and highly skilled individual. Rupert was very lucky to have his skill set come along when it did, and I'm sure he's going to enjoy spending a little less time on airplanes and a little more time with his family.
Prince Rupert's Mayor Herb Pond also talked about what he believed that Mr. Stevenson would be most remembered for during his time with the PRPA.
I think the expansion that's going on right now, taking us from the previous CEO got us to the place where we had a container terminal, and it got built. And Sean, as a senior member of the management team, was a huge part of that. But Sean's time now has been this period of that's really blossoming now of what's really rapid expansion of the terminals, where you've got import logistics and export logistics and more petroleum products moving through the Port of Prince Rupert. Propane, butane, ethane, those kinds of products can be moving through the Port of Prince Rupert. That will be his legacy as that all gets built out, and as those jobs come, and as and eventually the tax dollars that come from those projects begin to flow to the city of Prince Rupert. Big contribution to who we are.
Pond estimated that the effects of Stevenson's work could continue to be felt more than a decade later from this point. As for his successor, the PRPA has confirmed that they will publicly announce who it is whenever they officially make their decision on that matter. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cael Maslin. After the break, a nonprofit is fundraising to build a climbing wall. Welcome back. A Terrace senior is raising concerns about what she calls a lack of outdoor and social opportunities for residents in assisted living. CFTK-TV's Helena Asante shares more of the details.
77-year-old Pauline Whitfield, who lives at the McConnell estate, says many seniors feel isolated. She points to facilities like Terrace View Lodge, which locks down by 8:30 and 9 p.m., leaving residents little chance to enjoy nearby attractions.
We've had things going on at the museum here, we had drone shows. They can't come out. They miss it. And it's ridiculous because I know quite a few people that are over there, and they can just sign out for, for a couple hours and sign in. They're not going anywhere. They're not dangerous. I mean, yes, there are people you don't want to let them loose. And I think that should be taken care of too.
She says she's now planning to move to Kitimat, where she believes there are more activities for seniors.
There's not a heck of a lot for them here. Whereas you go into Kitimat and they've got library, you can volunteer. I wanted to volunteer at the hospital there. I have plans of things I want to do there. And again, my psychiatrist says, that sounds like a really good deal,
Whitfield also shares some privacy concerns after being asked by her nurse about her personal income.
The stuff that I've been going through, with the psychiatric nurse coming and wanting to know my income, and I wouldn't tell her because it's none of their business. These people think they're doing something good for me because they're worried about me being a senior. I'm 77 years old. I'm not even allowed to take my own pills right now. Are you sure you can handle your money? I mean, I've been handling money since I was a little kid. I was always given money and share,
And following a short stay in the psychiatric ward at Kesson Regional Hospital, she described the unit as the coldest place she's ever been.
I just spent 2 weeks in the psychiatric ward of the hospital, and it's ice cold there. And I swear that there's no place on earth that has a place like that.
In response, Northern Health says social needs are supported through recreational therapy and community programs. Privacy is safeguarded by law, and comfort issues like room temperatures are addressed promptly by staff with formal channels available for complaints. CFTK-TV News, Helena Asante.
An announcement was recently made by the Taku River Tlingit First Nation that confirms they will continue collaborating with Canagold Resources Limited. The two parties will continue working with one another on the proposed new Polaris mine that would be located deep within the First Nations territory. The nation has remained engaged in their discussions with Canagold to ensure that any kind of development that happens on their land is done with their values and laws in mind. More updates on how the project is advancing are expected to be released at a later date. The Burns Lake RCMP managed to hit a major point in a long drug trafficking investigation after they searched 3 properties and arrested 8 people in relation to the investigation. With the help of the North and Southeast District Emergency Response teams, they executed search warrants on 3 properties and ended up discovering over 3 kilograms of suspected illicit drugs, quite a bit of cash, firearms, and other drug trafficking related items. Although despite them pulling off this major bust, the investigation is still active, and there hasn't been any charges laid against the arrested individuals or anyone else. A local nonprofit group dedicated to all things climbing is seeking to provide a space that can be used year-round. The Skeena Climbing Society is currently in the midst of fundraising in order to get an affordable community bouldering wall that can be used year-round built. This wall would be on the smaller side and would not require ropes for people to use it. One of their board members also explained a little more about what the Skeena Climbing Society is for those who might not be familiar with them.
It's a group of volunteers that came together to use the drop-in or make drop-in nights at the Caledonia climbing wall. So at the Caledonia High School, there's a small top rope climbing wall, and then the board members who started it in 2017 facilitated drop-in nights for the public. So they set up the agreement with the Federation of Mountain Clubs of BC to house the insurance and then also the membership. And so they're just like facilitating that drop-in nights. And then they were also introducing climbers in the community and non-climbers to climbing in some outdoor events as well.
And as for the fundraising, the Society managed to accrue over $8,000 in donations on GoFundMe for this project, and their plan to get the rest of the money is through a BC Amateur Sport Fund, which makes it possible for the Society to accept larger donation sums and by going after certain grants. The plan is for the wall to be held within the Terrace Peak Gymnastics Club in Thornhill when its construction is completed. Shannon Lawrence also went on to mention that the creation of this wall has been in the works for some time now.
We've had, over the past 5 years, about 4 different parties privately approach us wanting to get some data so that they could open a gym, like a business, for a climbing gym. And we supported them, but then they fell through or they didn't end up doing their project. And we've been obviously running those Cal nights, and we see that they're over-attended every time we have them. We have, like, they're too full, and we've outgrown it, like, as soon as it was built, basically. So we, just see that need because we're the in-between with the community, and then we have seen that private interest. So we just, decided to start looking at real estate or rental, I guess, and then have been just talking to all the members of the community that have been helping, like the city and now Terrace Peaks Gymnastics and a few others, the district as well.
Although there wasn't an exact time frame given on when the wall might be ready once fundraising is finished, it's anticipated that it won't take very long to build. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cael Maslin. The Kitimat RCMP recently posted a report that covered the time frame from the middle of October to the end of it. One area of the report brought up an incident where a vehicle parked in the Kildala neighborhood suffered serious damages due to a hit-and-run incident. The officer that responded to the scene reported that the vehicle had seemingly been backed into. The Kitimat police are still investigating this case, and anyone with useful information is asked to call them at 250-632-7111. Still to come, LNG Canada is facing some serious allegations. Welcome back. LNG Canada has allegedly sent some letters to some residents who live nearby the gas liquefaction and export facility in Kitimat and offered them money. The alleged reason for the offers was so that the residents would briefly relocate from their homes located near the facility and also not make any kind of complaint or take legal action against the company, including if operations led to depreciation in property values or damage to properties. LNG Canada was asked to comment on these allegations, and while they did confirm that they contacted some residents to offer them relocation support during the facility's startup activity, they did not elaborate further on what exactly that support would look like. LNG Canada, a facility which is expected to export 14 million tons of liquefied natural gas this year, said its first shipment this past June. The $40 billion facility has been in its startup phase for more than a year, and since September 2024, has posted 25 notifications of planned and unplanned flaring events where excess or waste gas is burnt off. The flame can reach more than 100 meters high. LNG Canada also announced that they are now producing LNG from their second of 2 LNG processing units known as trains. This means now that both Train 1 and Train 2 are operational together. As daylight hours shorten and wet weather returns, police and ICBC are reminding drivers and pedestrians to be extra cautious on roads. This reminder comes as visibility drops and crashes involving pedestrians typically rise at this time of year. CTV's Reagan Hasegawa reports.
The clocks have officially rolled back, and across Metro Vancouver, darker commutes and rainy conditions are making it harder for drivers to see people crossing the street, and most pedestrian crashes happening at intersections or busy transit hubs.
This is the darkest, wettest times of the year, and most of the crashes involving pedestrians occur between October and January.
ICBC says distracted driving and failing to yield are key factors in pedestrian crashes. It adds that speed limits are set for ideal conditions, so when it's dark or raining, drivers should slow down and scan intersections carefully. Pedestrians are also encouraged to make eye contact with drivers and wear reflectors to be seen. ICBC is handing out thousands of these reflective zipper poles at its service centers and community policing hubs for a limited time to increase pedestrian visibility. Sleep experts say even minor changes to our internal clocks can affect alertness on the road. The time shift can temporarily throw off the body's biological rhythm, making some drivers less focused in the days that follow.
You could argue and say that if you're not used to driving at a certain time, and then you have your clock going forward or going backwards, that can do it as well. In addition, perhaps driving home from work as well, you might be a little bit less alert.
BC passed legislation to make daylight savings time permanent years ago, but that won't go forward until neighboring U.S. states do the same so our province can stay in sync. Reagan Hasegawa, CTV News, Vancouver.
As the city of Vancouver takes several belt-tightening measures, Vancouver police are looking for more money to finish this year and even more at the start of next year. CTV's Penny Daflos has a first look at the requests.
The Vancouver Police Board held a special meeting and live-streamed what a board member predicted
there's going to be pushback.
Would be highly controversial funding requests.
The optics are like, oh, the police get everything they want. So just wanting to get ahead of that.
The Vancouver Police Department is asking for the board's approval for a 4.9% increase to next year's operating budget, totaling a whopping $497 million. Bureaucrats claim that's what's needed to retain current service levels, including a new collective agreement with the union, implementing body-worn cameras, and the increased levy charged by Ecom 911 for their dispatching services.
There has to be and will be some scrutiny coming from us in 2026 that on behalf of the taxpayer.
The cost to police the FIFA World Cup next summer and respond to extended liquor service hours are also included, but that's not all. The VPD is also asking the board to approve $13 million in capital expenses for maintenance and renovations of VPD buildings, IT systems, and replacing vehicles. And it doesn't end there. Vancouver Police went over budget this year and are asking council for another $17 million to avoid finishing 2025 in the red. That includes $5 million for the task force barrage crackdown in the downtown east side and the ongoing investigation into the Lapu-Lapu tragedy. This all comes at a time the mayor is aiming to freeze property taxes.
Zero means zero.
With staff directed to find $120 million in savings for next year.
And so the Vancouver Police Department is trying to be the exception to cost cutting. They go to council asking for help with this year's shortfall on Wednesday and present their preliminary 2026 budget next week with fireworks already anticipated. Penny Daflos, CTV News, Vancouver.
That wraps up this week's edition of Week in Review. Make sure to tune in to our regular newscast on Monday at 4:30, 8, 8:30, and 11 o'clock here on CFTK-TV. Thanks for tuning in and have a good weekend.